Hey, welcome to the Sharp Way Show. It is a bit past 7 p.m. on the East Coast, which means, yes, it's time for the Sharp Way. You get to watch Larry Sharp and look at my ugly or handsome mug. I don't care. As long as you're looking all good. Look, you know it's going to be a good show because it always is. Would I ever give you a dog? No. So you know it's going to be good. So do me a favor right now. If you are watching on Twitter, do me a favor, retweet this, right? Retweet it right now. So that people go, what's going on here? I want to see some cool stuff. Then they retweet it, and then they're impressed by a cool show. It's important. If you can do that, please do that right now. I am very lucky this evening. I have with me someone who I have watched from afar, someone who some of you have been watching from afar, and I get to have a cool conversation with someone who is, and I mean this with the most respect, someone who's an oddball, and I mean that with nothing but respect. Not like all the others, very different, very special. She is an activist and a host. She is Doni Anthony, a.k.a. Doni the Don, host of Liberty or Else. How are you?
Good. How are y'all doing tonight?
Doing awesome. Thank you for coming aboard. I appreciate it. If you want to follow her, you can. Please do so on Twitter at Doni the Don. And if you're listening to this, it's Doni, D-O-N-I. Doni, D-O-N-I, the Don, if you're only listening. And of course, you can go head over to her website, notpoliticalproperty.com. Check her out there if you like. I appreciate that. Now, Doni, I have to ask you, you are someone who is a real anti-establishment person. I think that's clear.
That is very clear.
You used to be a Trump supporter. And my gut tells me because he was anti-establishment. But then you even got off of that. You've even moved away from Trump. Tell me about that.
So honestly, I've always been like anti-government since I was a kid. My first paycheck, that's what got me. I was in I was in Indiana, and they took the federal taxes, state, county, city, and I came home upset. I said, Mom and Dad, something's wrong with my paycheck. They said, well, what's wrong with it? I go, they took almost all my money. And I go, well, that's normal. So my parents even grew me to be the way I am. My experience. And so I'm sitting there. The first time I could have voted was during the Obama administration. And then, he had his two runs, McCain, Romney, didn't like none of them. And I'm like, everyone's the same. But I actually didn't even support Trump first. It was Paul that I supported first. And then it was Trump. And so, because I liked Ron Paul.
Sure.
But I wasn't old enough then for Ron Paul. But yeah, so I got on the Trump train and I really stood behind him, but he kept saying things like, take the guns first, due process later. And it made me scratch my head. And then I started thinking, okay, there's that. And then I seen him just leave the White House. I'm like, wait a minute, why would you just leave? You acted like you had this big old deal or plan and nothing happened. And then the January 6th, what did you do with people that support you? What kind of leader just leaves the people abandoned and don't even talk about it? And then I got to the point where I'm in local elections.
Hold on, let me bring up those points if I could. I like what you said, and I think a lot of people were with you. I remember that when 2016, a lot of people that I knew supported Bernie. I'm from New York City. A lot of people like Bernie, right? Mm-hmm. So, but when Bernie basically got screwed by the Democratic Party, a chunk of them went Trump. And in New York, you go, what? How is that possible, right? How can you go Trump from Bernie? It's impossible. But I think a lot of people, and you brought this up, a lot of people aren't paying attention. And they just kind of go with what feels right. And Bernie felt like he was he felt like he was a rebel. And then Trump also felt like he was a rebel. So I think people went from Bernie just to Trump because they felt rebellion. Am I wrong on this?
Yeah, I felt like there was actually someone that was going to represent me, and I thought he was doing that, but I missed a lot too. I wasn't on Twitter until 2019, December to be specific. So I didn't miss the whole bunch of it. So I was just looking from the videos that I watched or Facebook, I didn't see anything on Twitter. Then I started seeing people put up the old tweets he put up. I'm like, oh my gosh, if I would have seen it before, I could have been on Mama Joe's team.
Right.
But no, but then also too, like I started paying attention to the local elections, more so realizing how that much it affects us way more than a lot of things at federal level. And I watched how the GOP acted towards people who've been knocking doors for them, speaking at rallies for them.
Yes.
And then you weren't conservative enough, or what what are your qualifications? So whatever this paperwork says is my
Because I
qualification.
remember you were very active. You weren't just sitting back. You were out there you were knocking doors. You were being very active. I remember that. Yeah. And I feel
Yeah.
this goes back to that next piece you talked about, right? What bothered me about the end of January 6th, the days afterwards, and not that I'm pro any of this, but whether you believe Trump, was responsible or not, whatever you believe, there's no doubt those people were marching on that street with Trump in their mind and in their heart, and they
Mhm.
believed that he told them. Whether he did or not, they believed it. And he
Mhm.
knows they believed it. And you're right. Maybe you don't want to pardon them. I could see that. Maybe you're afraid of pardoning, but you couldn't have sent some of those hundreds of millions of dollars and maybe paid some bail, or maybe sent some lawyers,
I
or
mean,
did something.
what happened to all that stuff that's still money?
Yep, absolutely. Right.
Yeah,
Why aren't you doing that?
exactly. And it's like y'all come after BLM for the money, then what? No one's talking about the stop the steal money.
Yes, absolutely. And I think you're right on both counts. And this is the part that I think drew me to you, is that you're one of the few people who, one, recognizes where your actual compass is, and most people don't, but
Hmm.
also you don't have a problem smacking both sides. You don't.
Not at all. I'll take all the smoke.
I like that. I like that. Take all the smoke. I love that. And you do it because, and this is a part that, again, most people don't think of when they think of someone who's a former Trump supporter, and sometimes you're a firebrand. They don't think of a firebrand like you being someone who reads the classics or talks about education.
Hmm.
That's not the norm. Usually people who are yelling and screaming, they've done no homework.
Nada.
But you're screaming and you did your homework.
Yes. And it's necessary. Here's my thing. If you don't know what your values are, their principles are, your rights are, then what are you fighting for? You can be easily influenced to go a particular way if you don't know what you're actually fighting for. You don't think those patriots from back in 1776 did not know what they're fighting for? They knew they were fighting for. You don't see them saying, oh, well, I like some Tories, but I don't like the other Tories. No, they don't like none of them.
That's good. These are the special Tories over here, and these are
Mm,
the not so special Tories over here. Yes.
right.
But it's funny because you've also brought this up again. You brought the idea of people not understanding in today's world the difference between a patriot and a loyalist, and they really confuse them. Like they think the loyalist is the patriot, right? And they're very different.
Very different because and then I saw someone say this today. I'm not going to say any names. They put in a comment section that all the Capitol Police are terrorists. Someone else replied to them and said, all police are terrorists. And then they reposted that person and said, oh, this person has felonies. How can you have just said what you said and then turn around and say that? I think people want the clicks, the likes. People got to stop doing that. Like really
Yes.
seriously, because you got to understand what is the role of the police officer to enforce the laws of these unconstitutional bureaucrats and people who've been forcing themselves in our office for all these years have put in place. So when the cop is breaking his oath and enforcing unconstitutional laws, regardless if they know it or not, they are not your friends. Regardless if you have cops you like personally, when it comes to their job, that's something different than if they're good people at home.
Absolutely. 100%. Now, look, guys, if you like what we're talking about, and do me a favor, click that like button. Click it now. Don't think. Why are you thinking? Click that
Yeah,
like button. It
just click
matters.
it.
Just
Click it.
click it. Just do it. It doesn't matter. It's good. It's going to help me out. We're going to get past those algorithms that we need to get past every single time. So let's do that, please. And of course, please follow Doni, if you would. Doni the Don, and that's Doni if you are only listening. Doni the Don at Twitter, and also her website, notpoliticalproperty.com. So the other piece I want to bring up here is you were so bothered by that, you actually called Trump Benedict Trump.
I did.
And from going from a Trump supporter to not liking Trump, the regular person, which you are clearly not, the regular person would just become a Democrat, like the what's the Never Trumpers, what's the name of that group of people? I've forgotten about. Lincoln Project, right? Lincoln Project just kind of became Democrats, and now they back Democrats now. But you didn't do that. Why not?
Oh, I would never be a Democrat. I never was one. I didn't like them. I watched the debates with Hillary Clinton and Obama and all that stuff. And I was like I said, I'm looking at how much my money's being spent. I fell for the lie that Republicans were about spending less money. So I'm thinking my taxes be less. So I never could be. And then I know that Democrats were the ones who fought for slavery and I think civil rights stuff and all that. And I know me and Jeff did this show already discussing the Republicans' dirt too, because they try to act like their hands are clean. They ain't clean. But no, I know the history. Like, why would I? Why I'm actually really surprised. Before I got into this, I was surprised why there were so many Black people that supported Democrats after learning about this stuff in high school. But now I understand why they felt disenfranchised, just like people are feeling now. And they had.
And that's my point. Yes. And most people, I don't mean to be stereotypical, but I know. Look, I'm biracial, and the Black side of my family, most of them are actually conservative.
Yes.
They own AR-15s. They go to church, right? They are conservative, but they almost all vote Democrat anyway. And when I talk about it, they will have to tell me the same thing. They'll go, yeah, but Republicans are racist. That's the answer. Like, that's the answer. And the outreach from the right is just not good at all, if it even exists. I mean, it either doesn't exist or it's bad, right?
And they'll criticize you if you do outreach and say, you're grifting. And I'm seeing the felons do that to Kim Klacik. Turn off.
Absolutely, 100%. So you didn't do that. You didn't go Democrat. You're not Republican. You've attacked both of them, which I love, right? You actually, if I remember right, you actually said the Democrats are anti-Black. Walk down that road.
Well, they're already thought that from the very beginning that they were anti-Black based off, me being in high school. I actually did like history class. I did pay attention. So I did see that already. And also I'll at least say this. I think I switched positions. I hate both parties equally now, but at least the Democrats say I'm going to F you over, and the Republicans pretend like they're not going to. And then for me, I feel like the Republican Party has deceived me, and that's worse. But at least the Democrats didn't deceive me. They already told me they ain't going to do nothing for me. They're going to rob you. They don't even know what kind of country this is. They call us democracy every day. But with them, there's no difference. I see them fist bumping each other. We're sitting there being as people arguing, going back and forth with each other while they're friends, signing bills together, spending our money, sending it to Ukraine. Both.
Yes.
But my thing is, first of all, people say they love term limits. You're liars. You're absolutely lying. You don't like term limits. You know why? Because the Democrat Party's been around for almost 200 years. Republican Party's been around for 170 some years. They had different names before, like wigs and stuff. They kind of switched it up. They've been ruling over America forever. If you want change, you're not going to change it by playing the same game they've been playing for almost 200 years. Wake up, America. Come on.
Yes. Most people don't know that the term limits for president, that wasn't even a constitution. That only happened because FDR kept winning. And the people in Congress are like, I want to run for president. I don't want this to happen anymore. So let's make term limits. This way we can run for president. It's not because they cared about the presidency or cared about us. They just wanted to make sure that they could run for president. That's why they did term limits in the 40s. So absolutely. Before that, we didn't have term limits. And we never had a president be more than 3. I think only Washington did 3 terms. No one else did more than 2.
I thought Washington only did 1.
I think didn't he do 3?
Well, with the new American Constitution, he did 1.
Oh, right. Maybe not. Maybe I'm counting that he was kind of running things before that. Okay, maybe yes. Yeah. But yes, so I don't think. There we go. Yes. So my history is off. I apologize. Thank you for correcting me. So no, yes. So
that's what we're here for, right?
there we go. Yes. So, but I think you're totally correct on this one. Now, when it comes to what they like and what they don't like, here's what bothers me tremendously. If you are a Republican or Democrat, meaning as a voter, not as a politician, but a voter, and you're left or you're right. So you're right and you would like to cut spending, and you would like to have less government, or you're left and you would like maybe a higher minimum wage, maybe you want Medicare for all, whatever. You don't get it. No matter who wins, no matter who you vote for, no matter who's in charge. The Democrats were in charge. They didn't give Medicare for all. They didn't give higher minimum wage. Republicans were in charge. They didn't cut spending, right? They didn't do any of the things they're supposed to do. So no one does. And I guess this goes to what the video that you put out on Twitter, which I loved, which is what this is all about, is we're not winning. Like, America's not winning. Even if you happen to win the election, right? So if you're a Democrat, you like Biden, good for you, your guy won, but you didn't win. If you're a Republican, you're like, see, we got Congress now. Great, but you didn't win. Did I read that wrong, or that's how I read what you were saying?
Oh no, you're absolutely right. And I put it this way: think about the Super Bowl. You have your team that you want to win. Maybe you gambled and got something from it, but they're the ones who have the Super Bowl. They're the ones getting the Super Bowl rings. You're not getting nothing. You're just on the same side. And here's another thing: I have a different idea of it too. Is that people think that, okay, I'm gonna pick a tyrannical side that I think that will recognize my effort and I can benefit from it eventually. That's never happening. It doesn't happen. And I think with me, I'm 35. Like I said, I couldn't start voting until Obama's era. And so for me to catch, I feel like I caught on really quickly when I started getting involved with Trump and the Republicans and stuff. People who've been doing this for a really long time, like, how come you haven't caught on sooner? I feel like it was very easy, but I have to remember not everyone thinks like me or has the same reasons why I care about politics. One of my biggest thing is I want to repeal unconstitutional laws. I want us to have less police officers. Like, I've always cared about that, even under the Trump administration. It just didn't happen. I mean, it's not going to. And then people were start pushing Ron DeSantis. I'm like, they got red flag laws in Florida. What are you talking about? And he supports them.
Absolutely. Yes, yes, and yes. You bring up a good point, right? Law enforcement is FBI. Law enforcement is local cops. Law enforcement's state troopers. Law enforcement's all in between. And if someone's going to come take your guns, it's not going to be your local congressman. It is going to be one of those three agencies. One of those agencies is going to come to, or maybe the ATF. But one of a state-sponsored agency is going to come take your firearms. Not, I don't know, Ted Cruz, right? He's not going to come knock on your door and say, "May I have your firearms, please?" He's not going to do that. So yes.
No, but he'll cry in the Congress floor and call you all traitors.
That he will do. That is, he'll do that. Exactly. So I think it's completely correct. And you also support the Second Amendment. Again, if you talk to most people who are Black, Hispanic, they're going to say, no, got to get guns off the streets. Guns are bad. Guns are bad. Gun law, gun law, gun law. But you've connected the thing that I've connected, which also I love here, is you connected the Second Amendment also with criminal justice. And what most people don't get, I know you get this. So I'm saying this for the audience because I know you get this, is that most of these gun laws aren't used against who we imagine they're against. Where we imagine they're against the evil white supremacist militia guy who's in a bunker somewhere ready to take over the world. Right? We imagine it's against that person. It's not. It's used against poor Black and brown kids in the cities to add on more charges so they plea bargain and go to jail faster. That's what these gun laws are actually used for.
Yep. And so you can't have them afterwards. Me and Jeff did a show the other day that all gun laws are racist. Yep. The first gun law started in the 1600s, and it was towards to keep Black people from having slaves, free or not free, owning guns, even clubs. And then they have that.
Is that right?
Yep, even clubs.
Wow.
Yep.
That's nuts.
So the KKK and them, they want you to be able to fight them back or kill them. So the law enforcement and these Congress people have decided to take your guns away. And so this whole thing with Black community, I'm looking at these Black people who so-called civil rights activists talking about take guns away. I'm like, they're your enemy. They are lying to you. They know that you don't know your history accurately.
Yep.
And then they expect you to just do this because how are you going to protect yourself from those white supremacists you're so afraid of if you don't have any guns and they have all the guns?
Absolutely. Well, the other part that has always bothered me, and it's been clearer recently, and that is the Black leaders who are supposed to represent me, and then will claim how they're so oppressed and how they're the worst. And don't get me wrong, there are definitely oppressed people in this country. Of course there are. But the people who are not oppressed are the Harvard graduates on TV who say they're oppressed. Those people
Yep.
are not oppressed. And
And
I'm
in
supposed to
Congress.
follow them?
And they're in Congress.
Yes. And in Congress. Yes. And I'm supposed to follow them? They're the oppressed ones? I don't know. There are oppressed people. That's what bothers me. They make people who are oppressed in this country become invisible. Right? They make them invisible. In fact, what they actually reinforce is, well, if she's so oppressed or he's so oppressed and they're on TV or they're in Congress, well, then why can't everybody?
Right, because they're selected.
Correct. Well, clearly there's nothing systemic. There's no historical issues. They can't exist because, look, black president. So clearly everything you've talked about is now invalid. And these leaders, they reinforce that by default. And it is my opinion, I have no evidence, but I believe this to be true. They know and don't care. I don't know. How do you feel about these people?
Well, the leaders, I feel like they read a script. They wouldn't be in this spot.
Okay.
And if you're able to be controlled, you can be chosen. I'm not going to get chosen by any kind of organization that's not genuine about what they're doing because I can't be controlled. They've seen it already. Right. Or I would have probably been up there with the other bigger name people and everything a long time ago. But as you can see,
yes,
I can't.
You ran for office before.
Mm-hmm.
Was it mayor? Is that right?
Yeah.
Yes. How did that go?
They picked a Democrat over me. Long story short. And then it got really messy. And I was the only female out of like 7 of us running. And that doesn't really matter. But it's just funny how they target myself. But yeah,
no, it does matter because they say it matters. Right? That's the hypocrisy piece, right? In general, it doesn't matter? Of course not. You should pick the right person for the right job regardless, of course. Right? That's what you should do. But they don't say that. They say you're better.
Never had a female mayor, by the way. That could have been something that could have been used, but like let it slip. But here's my thing too. It's just this for me when it came to that election. I'm actually, in a sense, really happy that I did not win or would not be where I'm at today. I could probably be somewhere else different. I have met all these different farmers. I've been traveling and talking to all these different farmers, educating them on the rights. I probably would have never met them if I didn't run and didn't win. I wouldn't have probably realized how greasy the Republican Party is locally if I didn't run myself personally. It wasn't even just how I saw how I was treated. I saw how they treated the guy who's running for Fort Worth mayor, trying to diminish his image in his church. And then when it came down time to, we need you to tell your base to vote for our guy, they were like forcing it, trying to force it. And then, so there's a lot of different elements to this where it's like, this is not what I stand for. And that's why I love the liberty movement. I love what you guys have been doing so much. Like, you guys are genuine. Is everything perfect? No. But there's the thing. You listen. You reach out. Did all those other folks reach out after all that work I did? No, they didn't.
No.
But you guys did. And I think that thing is with us, people in general need to find allies. We're not going to be able to do this by ourselves. I mean, you can try, go run in the middle of nowhere, hide, whatever, live freely. But in order for us to get our actual country back, this is ours, we have to ally together with people who think like us when it pertains to what's a common goal we have, and it would be limiting the government.
There we go.
How are you?
There we go. You got neighbors out there. Good. I'm glad. Very good. Yes. So let
people
let the people listening know what part of the country you in.
Texas, in the Dallas-Fort Worth area.
There we go. So now the people now know. I got to. Speaking of money, I got to do a super chat if I could. This is DJ L70 says, examine Branna and discourage Angela's endorsement. I think what he is talking is off topic, but it's a super chat to Amigo. By the way, super chats are available for those of you care. You can go on to the Larry Sharp YouTube page and you can use super chats if you like. He's talking about the idea of the People's Party, I believe, is Branna's party, and Angela, meaning the chair of the Libertarian Party. He doesn't like the endorsement. DJ Elf, I'm not sure. First off, I don't have that kind of influence to tell Angela what to do, so I don't have that kind of influence. I think she'd listen to me, meaning she would hear my opinion if I brought it up. She'd hear my opinion, but she's going to make her own decisions. I don't think that the Libertarian Party is endorsing another party. I think what Angela is doing is I believe this, and you can speak to her specifically. I think what she's doing is endorsing the People's Party's anti-war stance. And we
Right.
are doing a joint event coming up here. I forgot what day. I think it's February 16th. I think that's right.
19th, February 19th, Racial War in DC. I plan on
Thank
possibly
you.
going. So
There we go. That's it. Yes. So I think the endorsement is not of the party. I believe the endorsement is of the anti-war stance. I believe
yeah,
that's true. So yes. So
it's
yes,
more of an
and
ally thing. It's like them just working together. Like I just said, the ally
yes.
thing.
See that? Perfect timing. Exactly. DJ Elf knew what he was talking about. Yes, I do
Yeah.
agree. I think we do need more allies. And if you find I'm very often trying to talk to people who don't always agree with me because I want to make sure that we can find the pieces that we agree upon. It does really matter. So
Yes.
another, if I can another comment, Andrew says Trump abandoned his base long before he dissed them for the events at the Capitol. And I'm not going to use the word he says. It's not a positive word in Spanish. So
Oh,
yes, yes.
oh, I forgot a piece. Okay, so when his people wanted the MAGA, I know it's before this too. The people wanted the MAGA party. Trump could have had a MAGA party. He said, no,
Oh,
we're sticking with the Republican Party. We can't win with the third party. And then here's my other thing is I didn't see him before when he was running in 2015. He pledged his allegiance to the Republican Party. Look at his endorsements. Look at all these people he's endorsing. So he's always decided that he's been loyal to the Republican Party and not to his people and his base.
no, it's a good point. And if anyone could have made a third party, a MAGA party, it would have been him if it was possible. I think it could have been him if anybody could have done it. It's a good point. So Pete almost every show does the same thing, which I love. He has me read out the national debt. 31 trillion, 380 billion, 309 million, $986,690.02.
You read that like a boss. I would have
every,
stumbled. I'm not even gonna lie. I would have stumbled.
every single show I do this, so I'm getting good at it. So yes. Dave says many Bernie supporters thought that Hillary robbed Bernie and weren't about to reward her. I think you're right with that, Dave. What do you think about that?
I agree. And I think that you guys have quite a few people that are at one point Bernie people. They're looking and watching what you guys are doing. The problem is with that group at the time, I think that we have to show them a free market can be more lucrative and not limited as socialist. Because a lot of them are like, I like the freedom aspect of it, but I still want free stuff. My thing is, you're going to be better off if you don't put a ceiling on yourself. And you can actually, I don't think people have experience. We don't have capitalism really in America. We don't have a real true free market. If we actually got to experience that, people would want someone, giving them stuff because you're going to have to depend on the government. And that's one of the problems with some of the FBAs because they want to get things handed out to them, not unnecessary from reparations. They want free healthcare and all this stuff. I'm like, you can't make a service free. Like you can't ask someone for free labor. That means someone's going to pay for it, and it's going to be everyone else. So in a sense, you're actually infringing on someone else's rights, and you're stealing from them to take wealth and put it in other people's hands when it's not yours that you earned.
And I think that you brought up a very big piece, which is people don't. It's almost like we have what I call an at least mindset, which is I'm not looking for the best that I can get. I'm looking for the least I can get. So at least I'll be able to eat, right? Well, at least I'll have basic cable, or at least I'll have gas in my car. And I get that mindset when you're desperate, but we don't want a country that has a desperate culture. We want a country that has an idea of prosperity for our culture, right? And I feel like now we're falling into that at least mindset. I hear it all the time. I mean, do you hear this too?
Yeah, and honestly, I always say this too. With America and all the resources that it has, nobody should be homeless and nobody should be starving. And that's not even coming from a socialist idea. That we don't have all these. Do animals have to get a certificate or a license for how many animals they can kill and eat for the year? No, they don't have a season when they can eat. So we have been limited on when we can and can't eat. Then hence the dependence on the grocery stores and the grocery stores depending on the regulations from the government to keep out other small grocery stores. If you hunt your own food.
Yep.
And if most parents, my parents, they taught, I don't do it, but they taught us how to hunt at a very young age. You grow your own stuff. You're never going to be hungry. So there's no reason. Honestly, food's going to be better for you anyways. It's not processed and it's delicious. I love it when my parents bring deer meat. It's the best.
But this goes into what kind of he's saying and you're saying together, which is you bring this up too. When people get pissed off or annoyed, Dave's right. A lot of Bernie supporters didn't want to reward Hillary. So some of them held their nose anyway and voted for Hillary. Some of them ran to Trump, but some of them just walked away. And they went, you know what? I'm out. I'm not going to reward Hillary. I'm not going to vote. I don't care. System's broken and I'm out. This goes back to what you're talking about. And your answer, if I get it and I love it, your answer always is education.
Mm-hmm.
But you've also said something else. You said most people need a syllabus.
You know what is it?
A syllabus. They need a list, right? What am I going to do? How do we do that, right? In other words, I can't just say, hey, Dave, read a book. That's not helpful, right? What book? Where should I go? How should I do it? Let's say Dave all of a sudden decides he wants to change how he thinks. That's awesome. How does he start? And I think that's a hard part for all of us.
Okay, this is easy for me to, because I've been giving my audience the syllabus. Like I said, first you need to know what you're fighting for, what your rights are. These people have not read the Constitution, they haven't read the Bill of Rights, they haven't read the Declaration of Independence, nothing. I say at least we read the amendments. 30-day challenge. Read one a day. Some of them are longer than the other ones. They have clauses in them. So at least in 30 days, you can read the amendments of the Constitution. You can start there. And then my other thing is they need to look at reading the anti-federalist papers. And I would say read the anti-federalist papers first because they were right. Once you read them in this time and day, you'll see what the problems that they were warning about we're having today. And then if you also want to look at it, and when someone's trying to take your Second Amendment right away, what were the Federalists saying? So when we have judges interpreting things their own way, excuse me, no, refer to the Federalist Papers, what they said, why they put these different pieces together. It may seem like a lot of work to do, but isn't it worth it? It's only an hour out of your entire day. What are you doing? Watching TV or watching sports, playing games on your phone, going through social media? Like, what is it? What is your freedom worth to you? Do you care?
I like what you just said for two reasons. One, you put it as a priority, which is true. We don't put it as a priority, and we should. But second, what I love, and I'm probably going to steal this, and I may or may not give you any credit. I'm not sure yet. But the idea of a 30-day challenge, what an awesome idea, right? So every day you read one of the amendments and you either tell people about it, talk about it, post it online, whatever. You do something with an amendment every day for 30 days. That's brilliant. That would get people into the mindset of just doing it, because the hardest part is the habit, right? My habit is I get up in the morning, I spend an hour on TikTok or whatever. Is that what people do now? Whatever. That's what I do, right? I used to watch TV in the morning, but I'm an old man. So anyway, so maybe they spend an hour on TikTok or whatever. So how about don't spend an hour on TikTok, spend a half hour on TikTok and spend a half an hour, reading something that has some value to you so that you know what you're fighting for. I like that.
Because then if most of the nation realized that we're not a democracy, you would not hear people repeating it, or you would hear more people calling out their politicians for calling us a democracy. They do it because we bank on our ignorance. The thing is, we're so much easier to be ruled by being ignorant. And this is my whole thing too. Think about the slaves in the plantation. If they could have read the Constitution themselves, so they were literate to read it, what do you think? If they were armed, do you think they would have stayed slaves very long?
No.
Not me. I said I would have died, Larry. I'm serious. They would have had to kill me.
But you're right. Imagine, think about Nat Turner's uprising. Turn that all of a sudden into a bunch of armed, trained, military people, militia even. Imagine what that would have been like. It's a civil war right then and there, right? Internally. It's a civil war within the South. Not even North doesn't have to be involved. It would have been a civil war within the South. I completely agree. And the other problem is the outcome of the Civil War in the South was so bad for former slaves because it wasn't as if they had won the war. It was as if the North had won the war.
That's because the North and Lincoln had other things in mind. They just used this issue to have a war, which they do still today. They do different things and say, well, this is why we're doing it, even though it's not really why they're doing it. They wanted to collect more money on tariffs and things like that. This wasn't about, Lincoln even said if he could keep slavery and then get rid of slavery and it still work out good, he would have did that. So it's just like you gotta start realizing that these people are not your heroes. That's another thing too. Hero worshiping is a problem. You start worshiping people like they're heroes, they can steer you in the wrong direction. And again, like I said, these people are put in front of you. They're giving these massive millions and millions of people platforms. There's a reason why you're getting to see them every day because they want you to see them every day.
Yep.
Why do you see Ron DeSantis being praised and not Christy Nome? Which one shut down these states? He did.
That's
Which one has
true.
laws in the states? He does. But Christy Nome, they try to come after her for something dumb that didn't make no sense, and she tried to follow the Constitution. My thing is, people say, "Oh, there's no perfect politician." I like the ones who are at least trying to be constitutional. They can get it
Yes.
wrong. It's just different ways of making it constitutional, where someone completely ignores the Constitution and does what they want.
Absolutely agree. Yes. And the other piece I want to bring up that you brought up is, one of the things that you find is once people become popular at all, they become distant, right? So I'm trying to create an environment where everyone can come talk on a show. Everyone can meet me at an event, talk at an event. We can do stuff. I wish more people did it. And I got this, believe it or not, from Rudy Giuliani. It's going to sound weird, but when Rudy Giuliani was mayor of New York, he used to do a weekly radio show, and he would just take calls live, and people would call. Some would be mad at him, some would love him, some would hate him, but he would take it, whatever it was. And some would be something crazy like, "Hey, there's a pothole on 4th Avenue," and he'd be like, "All right, let me send my guys to fix it." Like it was whatever, right? He would just take it, and I thought that was the kind of politician that I would want someone to have. And look, you might go, "Well, he's a mayor." New York City had 8 million people back then. It's 8.5 now. It had 8 million people. That's as big as most states. So he has the population. I mean, you're in Texas, yours is even bigger. But I'm just saying, in most states, right, are less than 8 million. So with that in mind, he was still doing it. And I think we should be more like that. As much as I like Chrissy Nome, she's becoming that too. Like she's becoming where you can't talk to her anymore. Security's always around her. Yeah, you can never ask her a question. And I think even de Blasio here was that way in New York City, but Bloomberg wasn't that bad. And I think you had to be because of Giuliani's example. Giuliani's example, he was very approachable, so Bloomberg had to copy. After that, you're right. They become almost like in their ivory towers. You never even see them.
And they run away. But here's the thing, too. In
Yes.
the Articles of Confederation, that would not have been allowed.
Oh, you're right. You're right. Yes, it's a different system. Yeah, you're right. Different system. Absolutely. Yep.
That's the other thing too. I did a poll and I asked people how many constitutions has America had. 70% got it wrong. They said one.
Yeah. Yep. Absolutely. Yes. And what was it? 9 years or 8 years under the articles?
It wasn't that long, actually. A few years. But the problem is, like I said, y'all get into the anti-federalists when we start talking more about history and stuff. They illegally made the Constitution. They had to have all 13 states ratify it, and they were already trying to ratify it beforehand. They were already enforcing it before Rhode Island and North Carolina even signed on to it. And
well, there we go.
The thing is, it's like, this is a thing. They say it's to go, you're going to have freedom, but they're forcing the Constitution on you. If it's a good idea, then why is it being forced?
There we go. Absolutely. Nassim, thank you for the $10. I appreciate it. Says, keep up the good work, Larry. Hey, Donnie, you're cool too. Look at that. You got fans.
That's my friend. What's up? He's on my Twitter. I think I remember my chat. Thank you for
I love it.
That's what we do. We show for each other. That's what's up.
Absolutely. So Joe says he shows me that they all had 2 terms until FDR. So yes, no one had 3 terms. All had 2 until FDR.
Right, but it wasn't a legal thing. It was just, but FDR, and here's the thing too, people say it was just because of FDR, but FDR died while he was in office, and then they changed the law.
Yes, absolutely. So Ryan says, America has not been doing well since 2007. I used to be a Reagan Republican, got ticked at the GOP. I had an insanity period from 2013 to 2020, now libertarian. Well, thank you. Welcome aboard, Ryan. Thank you very much. So. Awesome. Do you consider yourself? I'm sorry, Donnie, go ahead.
When he brought up that time frame, I'm thinking, I have asked, when is America been great? Before, I never really could answer it when I was Trump supporter. Now I can. I said America had potential to be great before September 17th, 1787.
There we go. There we go. There we go. So yes, no, I think that a lot of people have been recently disenfranchised, right? The things have not been going well and they don't know what to do. And making that change can be difficult. Do you consider yourself a big L libertarian, like a part of the Libertarian Party? Do you consider yourself a small L libertarian? Do you consider yourself a conservatarian? What do you identify as something?
A rebel.
A rebel.
Yeah.
I'll buy that. I will buy that. I like that. I'll take it. Absolutely.
I will ally with other rebels. I'm allying with the Mises Caucus and people like yourself who want to stand for liberty and freedom. But
there we go.
Some people will say, well, I can still work with, liberty-minded Democrats and Republicans. I say you got to get rid of that crime organization.
Hold on. Your sound is starting to become garbled.
Oh, okay. How about now?
Better. Go ahead. Yep. Go ahead.
Okay. No, but I just can't ally with the crime organization. If it's a Democrat, Republican, liberty-minded, then why are you with those parties? I can't do it. So I do have a kind of a loyalty to the Libertarian Party in a sense, but if people start going crazy and turning to statists and stuff, then no, I won't. But
there we go. Okay. Jean says, I like this lady. She's smart and informed. Look at you. You're winning over my audience. Well done. It's working. I love that. Pete says the lockdown started under Trump. That is true. Absolutely. Torrance says one party screws America, the other watches. and then they swap, right? So your turn, I'm gonna watch. Yep. Your turn, I'm gonna watch.
It's a cycle.
Yes, and I think that's the part, right? So let me ask, if we have a problem and we're seeing loyalists as patriots, if the only answers we feel is Brexit and I'm going to run to the opposite side, or then when I'm mad at Trump, I run to become Democrat, right? So I either run to Republicans or I run to Democrats. That's what we have right now. How do we fix this? What's the next step in your view?
I'm telling you, if that's what you're doing, then you don't know what you're fighting for yet. Because if you're going to know what you're going to fight for, you know that the solution is not in those two parties. And that's what my job is. And one of the things I feel called to do is to make sure that people stop doing that. It can be so frustrating sometimes. I'm quite sure it's frustrating for you too, Larry. Trying to wake people up and everything. But the big wins are people who used to be like, Doni, well, what about this? What about that? And then now they're like on board with where I'm going and showing up. And they're like, yeah, I completely see it. And I'm not counting those people who are just attacking Republicans right now because it's just convenient for them to do it. I mean, those people who actually mean it. The thing is, if these people don't know what their rights are, they're going to keep doing what they're doing. They don't realize these two parties are both infringing on their rights, and they don't see it. So, at the end of the day, we have to arm ourselves, locked and loaded, with the most knowledge we can obtain. The government don't want you to have that knowledge, but they would have taught it a particular way in school.
Yeah. Is it windy by you? All of a sudden, it's getting garbled again.
Yeah, it's getting windy.
That's okay. Let me see. Guys, if you like what we're doing, then do me a favor. If you're watching on Twitter, retweet this now, right? If you are watching on Twitter, please retweet it. It does matter. Every time I get past the algorithms, it makes things better and better and better. If you're not watching on Twitter, or even if you are, no matter what, click the like button. Even if you don't like it, lie to me. Just be good to me anyway and click the like button. I don't care. Click that. I got to get past those algorithms. And please follow Doni. You can follow her on Twitter at Doni the Don. If you're listening, DONI the Don on Twitter, or head over to her website, which is notpoliticalproperty.com. So if I could keep going, you are in a way anti-school, and not because you don't want people to be educated, but you feel like the school system is just, you might as well just skip it. I mean, because it's not doing what it's supposed to do. Am I wrong?
They're indoctrination camps. And let me tell you, I've met some people who are farmers. A lot of them dropped out of high school. They're some of the most intelligent people I've ever met in my life. Smarter than people with PhDs. And my thing is, I got more from my education, my self-education, than I have in my public schooling education, than I ever have had. And I think the thing is the government has set it up that way. It's intentional for you to have people like this. And I think it's interesting, though, a lot of police departments, this wasn't something that used to be a thing where you had to have a 4-year degree to be a cop now. So a lot of stations, not all of them, but a lot of them are requiring that now. And they need you to get that indoctrination certificate and be in debt,
Yes, the debt part's critical, right? Debt slavery is the new slavery, is debt slavery, right? That's the newest form. They have many forms, obviously, but that's the newest form of them all completely. Now, speaking of that, guys, help me out. Head over to the advocates.org. They are my sponsors. Take one of the quizzes there. There's one on police reform. Take a survey on that if you want to. Identity politics, political correctness. There's a survey on that too. Take any of those. It asks for your email. People say, I don't want to give my email. You don't have to. If you like what the advocates.org is about, the Advocates for Self-Government are an organization that wants more people to govern themselves, more communities to govern themselves. So if you like that and you want to get emails from the organization, please give them your email. If you don't like that, please don't do it. Either way, you can still take it and share it. It makes them happy. It makes me happy. It supports the show. Please make sure you're doing that. It really does matter. So I want to grab some more comments. People are commenting all over the place here. The Liberty Toad says, no such thing as freedom and free stuff. Well, depends, right? No, you can, it can be, but here's the caveat. It's got to be voluntary. Like, people do sometimes just decide to give. They do. But if it's voluntary, I'm good with that. That's my, I mean, I don't want to say you can't have free stuff. You can't have forced free stuff. Am I wrong?
No, I agree with you, and that's the thing when people like try to say, "Oh, you're a grifter," but you don't like socialism. People are voluntarily giving to my page or anything, opposed to me trying to just steal it from their wallet and make them pay for my stuff.
Yes, you heard me just say, give your email address if you like an organization like that to email you things. If you want that, give them your email address because you want it. I mean, that's the key, right? You shouldn't be forced to, of course not. Paula says, Doni for Speaker of the House. I like it. We're gonna send it down there. We're gonna punish her for showing up. Now we're gonna make her be Speaker of the House.
I thought you was going with Justin Amash.
I love Justin. I wish he would do it. It'd be great for him to do it. I hope he gets it. I know he's down there now. He is down there. He's actually on the floor with all of them because he used to be there before they've invited him. So he is there. Look, I hope that all of a sudden it pops up. I hope it does work.
You tell them to bookmark that time so I can screen record that and put it on Twitter.
There we go. The more you know logo should float by. Awesome young people lately. She likes that. Yes, the more you know. I like that. It's good. Joe asked a question though. What does Doni think of jury nullification?
What do I think of it? I mean, why not? If it's an unconstitutional law and the jury saying, okay, that's not actually a crime, they may have done it, but it's actually it's not supposed to be a law, then I'm not going to have you. They're gonna have me in a jury. I'll probably doing that myself personally because I don't want to see people go away. They ain't supposed to be going away. Another thing is that you can't say in courts for some reason because they want y'all to be auctioned off into slavery in these prison and jail systems. So I think that it's one tool that we have that people don't really know about that we should be using to help keep people out of these cages.
There we go. Sam says, I dislike when towns zone against or don't allow gardening. Seriously messed up. I was able to make a garden in my city apartment. Governments create need, then dependence, then victims. That's some good stuff right there.
It's very a fact. Good. You depend on them. They don't want you being self-sufficient.
Yes. Real Mav 1 says, prosperity, when I have enough to eat, am warm, and comfortable in my home, my needs are met, and I even have a little extra. I'm not sure where he's going with that. I guess what I'm saying here is, I mean, I'm not sure, but I guess where I'd be going with that is, in the current situation we have now in America, the government doesn't really let you die, if that makes any sense. If you want to stay alive, government programs can keep you alive, but they don't let you thrive. In other words, can you just go to the government and get food to eat? You can. Can you get a place to lay your head? You can. Can you get medicine? 100%. You can. Is it going to let you thrive? No. Government programs keep you where you are. They don't encourage you to thrive. So can government give you enough to eat? Yes. Can it keep you warm? Yes. Can it keep you in a home? Yes, it can. That it can do. But can it actually make it to where you can thrive? I think right now I don't see it.
They'll limit you though too. So say if you want to get the affordable housing is having your land, your property, and do what you want to it. If you can afford a trailer or a small house, or hell, if you want to put a TP out, that's what you can afford. That's what you can afford. But when they sit there and have all these zoning laws and tell you what you can and can't do, that messes with that. And so
Yes.
when we look at the whole thing with the shutdowns and everyone was going in and panicking and buying up all the food in the grocery stores, some people couldn't eat. And then
Yes, that's right.
eats and stuff were closed. How are you going to eat? Some people were not able to eat. They may have had friends or family that were there. But my thing is, people say, "Oh, stock up on canned goods." That's processed food. If you're growing your own stuff, you have your own surplus. So the thing is,
Absolutely.
oh, one more thing with the affordable housing, you can't make over a certain amount of money or you get out. You
Yes.
can't have a man live there with you because then you have too much money in there. So there's not even there to help you grow and be better. It's to keep you there and poor.
Absolutely. Yes. It's what we call a benefits cliff, right? So you never get out of it. It also increases the black market, which increases violence, which puts more people in jail and keeps the whole cycle going. Absolutely. Yes, yes, and yes. So Lisa says, interesting challenge. Can you name the 5 rights in the First Amendment without looking? If you don't know what your rights are, how do you know if they're being taken away? This is a great one. Most people believe that the First Amendment is only the right to free speech. Most believe that. But I happen to know, I know you know, Doni already, you already said it, I know you, but I'm gonna show you that I know, right? It's free speech, see if I get them all right. Freedom of religion, freedom of the press, freedom of association, and freedom to petition the government. I think those are the 5. Did I get it right, Lisa? Did I get it right, Doni?
The symbol piece of it. I know it's the symbol and show your
Yes, I said association, right? So you assemble. I'm sorry, I said association. I meant assemble. You're right. Yes.
No, you're good. And the religion piece is important because you have a lot of these Christian nationalists coming out. That infringes on the First Amendment right under the Establishment Clause, where the government cannot side with any religion or another. Even
Correct.
with certain things when it comes to who you marry and stuff. Like, honestly, the government just needs to get out of all of it, period, regardless. So there's a lot of pieces of this, the clauses that are in the First Amendment too that people had to read into.
Nice. The HTS disciple says, "Epic Doni and Larry." I remember you finally spoke in the Twitter space. That's right. I remember that we did. It's a loose state of mind, Doni. Yes, that's right. You remember that, right? Absolutely.
Yes,
so, someone already followed you. Now Paula has also followed you. So people are following you now. So I guess that's good. You're getting some new followers.
Sweet.
That's good.
Some more allies.
Paula also says, "Hate to say this, but I still follow Rudy because of his radio show." I know, Paula. I remember what it used to be. I don't know if it's, I know he might still have one, but it used to be on WOR radio 710 WOR 710 AM. I do remember that back in the day. Yes, absolutely. 100%. It's a pretty interesting one. So, I guess the piece I want to bring up, if I could, is if people are checking out, and we've got to get them to be educated. That should be our goal, right? Get them to figure some stuff out. Is there a way en masse that we can motivate them? I mean, you've had a lot of podcasts. I mean, you've done a lot of content. I do at least 6 hours live a week, if not 8 or 10. How do we make this work?
I think we should start having little things in person, like little meetups. I know conferences and conventions are great, but start just having meetups and start inviting people to start coming to them. So then also educated, they can have the relationships built with you as well. I was doing that when I was doing with the conservatives, but that was a little easier because people were already conservatives and they already just had the name conservative in the name. They're gonna come, but with this, start going to the bars. What did the Patriots do? They did a lot of their planning and things in bars.
Sure.
So
and coffee shops.
Yes. So just got to start just doing that and doing more things in person. I do those things in person, but we just need to do more of it. Hell, if only like 5 people show up, that's 5 people. But if we get 20 and 40, it's going to keep growing.
Oh, got it. Real Mav responds. He says, "I'm not talking about government handout." Thank you. I'm sorry, Real Mav. I wasn't clear where you were going with that. If I misunderstood, I apologize. I'm talking about when I earn and have to spend to live. Yes, absolutely. This is hard, right? And I understand. I do. When someone says, "Look, why can't you pay my debt? or pay my credit card or pay for my schooling, if you're going to send $40 billion to Ukraine or you're going to bail out a bank. I do. I get the emotion behind it. I totally do. But the issue is we shouldn't be bailing any of them out. Obviously, we shouldn't. But I get when we do how someone could think that. At the same time, don't we want to set an environment to where real Mav can go out and work, make a living wage without the government forcing him, without the government taking away all his taxes, so you're able to live and earn and do what you want to do, whether that's one job or two, or whatever it might be, whether you want to, marry someone and have them work for you, or whatever is the case may be, right? Whatever you choose to be right? You're laughing, but some people want to marry somebody wealthy and not work. And as long as it's voluntary, I don't mind.
Yes, I love it. Yes.
Yeah, nothing wrong with it. If you can marry somebody rich and the rich person's fine taking care of you, that's a voluntary association. I'm good with that. No worries at all. You do you, right? All good.
Yeah, some people got it down pat. I have no idea how that works.
100%. They do it. Absolutely. Yes. Heather says people need to stop looking to the government to be the backbone of community and society. You and I say this like every day, Donnie, right? This is exactly, Heather, you're exactly correct. I will say this and I'll keep saying this. Whenever you add government, by default, you remove community. So we have to build up community so we can remove government, because in reality, people need help. People fall down. People make mistakes. People get in trouble. Sometimes it's their fault. Sometimes it's not. But people have problems, right? You got to be able to help people, and you should. But I will always say community will do it better than government every time, and it won't be forced.
Absolutely.
I think that's the key right there. That's the biggest key that I think I take away. Absolutely. So let me see if I can grab this here. So Jeff is here. Hey, Jeff. Got to see him. Guessing to start making more money so we can have that voluntary association. I agree, because in reality, I'm not, and I'm going to make a specific statement here. I'm not against socialism if it's voluntary socialism. If you choose to give to, say, a church group or a civic association, give money to them and allow them to spend it however they choose and give it to the poor or give it to somebody else who they deem is needy, and you're okay with that, I am okay with that. You have chosen and you believe in that organization for them to give out stuff. That's voluntary. Even if you decide in your own world, in your own marriage or in your own family, you're all going to put money into a pot and let one person decide what gets spent. As long as you're deciding that and you can leave if you want to, why do I care? Am I wrong here, Donnie?
No, I think it's right. I mean, that sounds great for people who want an anarchist community. Like, we can have the same thing. I feel like under a more of a libertarian system, we could have that in our community where the Republicans and Democrats will never want you to have that.
Yes, and there's the biggest thing to remember. The Amish, who are voluntary socialists, can survive easily and thrive in the libertarian community. Absolutely. They're a minority, a religious minority and a social minority. And in certain cases, depending on where you are, it could be an ethnic minority. But they're surely a religious and a social minority, clearly. But whenever there's an authoritarian, who are the first people to be harassed and detained and arrested and killed? Social minorities. Absolutely. Yes, 100%. So once it's authoritarian, the minorities get hammered. In the libertarian world, good on you. You want to live without electricity? I'm not stopping you. I hope you have a better life. I hope you're happy. So let me ask you, Donnie, is there anything that I've missed? Something that we should have brought up that I didn't bring up?
No, I think this is a good start. I mean, as long as you bring me back on, I mean, it sounds good. Like, I think we had a good start to introducing Doni to the Sharp Ways world.
I like that. Now you've just made me. I got to now come back. Now I got to do that. I got to bring you back. Absolutely. Yes. I got to grab a super chat real fast if I could.
And by then, hopefully, I'll have better cameras and everything, and I'll hold my cell phone up for our next show.
There we go. I love it. First Last says, thank you for the super chat, by the way. I appreciate it. Building services for my city is providing me with service of taking $20,000 in permit fees from me to build my house on my land. I always forget to thank them for their service. What you just brought up is critical. The amount of money you have to pay to use your own property in this country is shameful. It's supposedly your property, but I can't do what I want with it unless, to Sam's point, it's zoned appropriately. And I can't do the next thing unless they approve this. Now, don't get me wrong. If what you're going to do is going to affect somebody else, I agree, right? And as an example, I use in New York City. New York City has a condemnation law, which means if your building is going to fall and you refuse to fix it, they can take your building and condemn it. I actually agree with that law. If a building collapses in New York City, thousands die. No worries. I'm not fighting you on that one. But here's the worst part. They took that law, which is not a bad law. You shouldn't let buildings collapse on top of people's heads, right? I'm okay with that. But here's what they add. They add that same law with that logic and say, well, we can also say that your property is now a special type of historic property and it's landmarked. So now you can't do anything with your property unless the community agrees. Now, I asked the guy at the Department of Buildings about this. I actually, in my day job, I train city agencies. And so I asked the guy about this. And he was like, no, Larry, this is completely okay. I said, great. Why is it okay? He said, well, because it's based upon the law from condemnation, from condemning buildings. And I said, I get it. But in the case of landmarking, where's the victim? He went, Larry, you don't understand. It's based on the law of condemning. I said, no, I get it. Condemning. The building falls. There's victims all over the streets, like property and people are dead. I get it. But in this case, where's the victim? And he just kept saying, but Larry, it's based on another law. In his mind, because it was a law, it was by default good and just. There didn't have to be a good and just answer. It's the law. Therefore, it's good and just. This must drive you crazy, Donnie, as it drives me.
No, I mean, it's something that we have to cure the status mentality. You know,
Yes.
we have to. And it's like, I'm gonna call you status. I'm gonna call you bootlickers. I mean, I'm gonna do it. You know, because y'all try to call me a Democrat or red coat. It's like, well, me. But the thing is, at the end of the day, I also want to see if we can do a show one day on the fact that the federal government owns all that land in the West and all this different land that they're illegally owning, and the fact that a lot of and they cut homesteading out. I think back in the 70s, they cut it off.
Yep.
And they snuck it in a bill.
That don't they always?
They always do.
Yeah. And then that makes it okay because now it's law. To my Department of Buildings friend's point, that's great. So, guys, I want to say thank you all so much for watching and for listening this evening and being so good to me and Donnie. Donnie, thank you so much for coming today. I appreciate you giving us some time.
No, I appreciate it. Thank you, because 3 times was a charm.
There we go. I knew it. I knew if I kept bugging you, eventually it would work. I just knew it would.
As soon as I get my new equipment, I'll message you. I'm gonna be like, hey, I got new equipment. Can we schedule something?
There we go. We'll make it happen. Everybody, I want to say thank you so much. And please make sure follow Doni on Doni, D-O-N-I, Doni the Don on Twitter. Check out her website, notpoliticalproperty.com. Also, please do me a favor. If you watch this on Twitter, please retweet this if you watched it on Twitter. If you watch it on YouTube, then please click when you subscribe. Click all notifications. It does matter. And the least you can do is stop by theadvocates.org. Check out one of those surveys. Take it and share it. It helps tremendously. Guys, thank you so much. I will see you all next week.